All right, so Piers Morgan did a open panel talking about Nick Fuentes, and I'm not going to watch the whole thing. I'm just going to watch some of it, but I want to point out a couple things about the discourse. But
many would rather pretend was a purely online phenomenon, has become a very mainstream matter. As we've talked about on this show, Conservatives are openly split between those who believe the likes of Fuentes should be silenced and ignored, and those who believe the right is now dabbling in its own form of cancel culture, especially when it comes to the other major dividing line of Israel. More to the point, many of the people clutching their pearls on both sides of the argument are failing to ask why he got so popular in the first place, and whether MAGA needed and still needs the movement many would now like to disavow. Well, joining me to debate all this is Jake Shields from Fight Back Podcast, Ben Ferguson, co-host of The Verdict with Ted Cruz, Rabbi Shmuley, author often known as America's Rabbi, and Richard Black, the founder of the Safari Journal Company and a right-wing commentator. Okay, welcome to all of you. Rabbi Shmuley, welcome back to Uncensored. Nick Fuentes has a growing number of followers, a growing amount of influence.
Yep.
The more people have tried to cancel him, the more his views have become more widely disseminated and the more popular he seems to have got.
He just said the most important thing about this conversation just then. Because a lot of people talk about cancel culture and canceling and silencing people like it's some sort of like moral high ground or some moral, like grim moral duty, like, oh, we can't cancel people because that's wrong and that's what they did to us. But really, when it boils down to it, there's a consequence for doing that to people by silencing people. You're making their opinions more interesting by labeling them as off topic, and you're making the people that share those opinions a lot more popular. There's a very real consequence to doing that.
What do you feel about this? And what do you think should be done about it?
Nick Fuentes is not MAGA. He's MAG-GIT.
I mean, shit like that, dude. It's like I want to make clear my opinion. Like, I'm not a huge fan of Nick Fuentes, and I'm not saying that like, oh, I'm not a big fan of him. I've listened to some of his stuff. He's very interesting. I've heard some stuff that I really agree with. I've taken a little bit of time to like kind of understand where he's coming from, but I'm not like what I think either of these two guys are, where it's like they're totally like sold out, agree with everything he said, totally on his side. But, just like shit like that, it's just the more he does stuff like that and the more people say stuff like that, I don't know. Only Trump can really say stuff like that in a way that's captivating.
Trades and being a subhuman, mentally and conspiracy-minded.
It's not gonna fucking work, man.
Neanderthal knuckle dragger. He is utterly ignorant. He knows no history, and his MAGA is make America.
One thing I'll say about him is he actually does know quite a bit of history.
America German. Amen. He is just using
and I'm not saying that in his defense. I'm just saying, I mean, if you're going up against somebody, you should know a thing or two about them.
Hitlerian playbook. He says that Hitler is his hero. There's a lot of similarities, of course. You become famous by targeting Jews. He's not anti-Israel. He's an anti-Semite. He's a Holocaust denier. Hitler traded an anti-Semitism beginning in 1921-22 because it was the way to become the most famous. History has shown if you hate the
Why?
Jews are news. So when you ask how did he become so famous, it is specifically his anti-Semitism. The question is he transactionally anti-Semitic or is he ideologically anti-Semitic? I think it's both. But the way he speaks about blacks, that blacks should all be returned to slavery, and that if you go to a black neighborhood, you're going to be stabbed in the neck, that they're all murderers. We've seen this, of course, with Hitler, who wouldn't even shake Jesse Owens' hands when Jesse Owens dominated the 1936 Olympics, winning 4 gold medals. But Fuentes is playing with fire because in the same way the Nazi movement cultivated hatred they could no longer contain, you have Tucker Carlson saying openly that Nick Fuentes is gay, which I couldn't care less. I have a gay brother. But Ernst Röhm, who was the head of the SA, was killed by Hitler in large part because he was gay. And at some point, Fuentes' followers are going to turn on him because just like Hitler did, look.
I really don't think so.
Aryan in the slightest, neither does Fuentes. He's not this white Norwegian Aryan Ubermensch Superman. He's actually a short, weird guy, kind of like the way Hitler was. He has all these weird tics. He's famous because hatred sells, and hatred towards the Jews sells. And when you come along and you stoke those fires...
Honestly, I didn't know hatred towards the Jews sells. I mean, is that the case? I mean, maybe nowadays it's becoming more popular, but...
of such incendiary racism against blacks, against Jews, it's going to turn on you, and I think...
For the record, I can remember quite a few times hopping into a Uber in Miami, several Ubers in Miami, and you would be surprised the kind of people that are listening to Nick Fuentes when I get in the car. And I'm not like a big Nick Fuentes guy. I mean, a lot more people like him than he realizes. And he thinks he's sticking up for people that don't even agree with him.
Fuentes is really at risk from his own people. I'm never going to touch him. I wish him a long life and increasing marginalization and invisibility. But I think that his own maggot movement is going to turn on him.
All right, Richie Black, I can see you pulling some faces there, so you can respond.
Vastly misunderestimating his opponent.
Yeah, well, I lost count, honestly. I mean, I lost count of how many lies that was just admitted. Where do we begin? Obviously, Rabbi Shmuley is part of the tone deaf majority who are more than likely the cause of the rise of Nick Fuentes. When you start off the conversation with lobbying insults first and foremost, and
exactly.
mentioning something about his height and his looks, you're completely neglecting the fact that at this point, and in my generation in particular, we see this as an emergency.
And we see that kind of behavior. And again, not because I agree with everything that Nick Fuentes says, but me personally, the way I lost my job because I made a joke a while in 2020. I lost my job because I made a joke. And somebody didn't understand that it was a joke. It wasn't really even extremely offensive. I was being sarcastic. I was actually agreeing with them. And they went for my throat and went after my job. And I've witnessed personally how the news and has been proven to be untrustworthy, constantly lying, using like ad hominem attacks to not address actual issues, to be manipulative. And I can't agree with a lot of people in saying that we're fucking sick of it. And when if you're not talking to our points, whoever we may be and whatever we might be saying, if you're refusing to address the point, that is the clearest signal of manipulation and bad faith argumentation. So when we see people do stuff like that, it's like you've already admitted defeat. You think you're winning because you're getting like a bunch of good sound bites, you're going on a tirade, but you're not. You're not. You're not winning the hearts and the minds of people that really matter, that are taking the reins of society.
I don't care about what he looks like. Mentioning that Hitler killed Strom because he was homosexual, which is not true. That's obviously a very complicated thing. Or the Jesse Owens statement, which...
I wouldn't even talk to that point. I mean... They're trying to bait him. He's trying to bait you into talking about Hitler.
Again, I believe Jesse Owens made a statement that Hitler actually called him to congratulate him, and the president of the U.S. at the time did not. So food for thought there. But this is a cheap tactic, and it's one that's been overly used over and over. And I really want to warn people like Rabbi Shmuley and anybody who uses this tactic, because ultimately what you're doing, what you're forcing people to do, is to de-radicalize this movement, de-radicalize these words. When you lobby these words anti-Semitism and you say, well, you're not allowed at the table unless you're if you're an anti-Semite. Well, you're putting it on us to first de-radicalize what it means to be an anti-Semite so we get a spot at the table. Nick Fuentes is correcting an imbalance in the conservative movement that's been going.
I don't know why they picked these two particular people to talk about this. They seem like they're just like very overzealous about Nick Fuentes and maybe can't verbalize exactly what they're seeing or what they understand. But the thing is there's this constant thing of what he's saying is true, is that there's this thing like if you say this or you do these off-topic things, you're not allowed to sit at the table. Well, what happens when nobody cares about sitting at your table and everybody's sitting at a different table? And you say you're not allowed to sit at the table. It's like, well, I don't give a fuck. I have my own table. Take Alex Jones, for example. He's not allowed to sit at the table. He does fine. And he will never, ever, ever stop what he's doing. He's completely independent. He doesn't need to be at your table, doesn't want to be at your table. So this like cool kids club thing that you're doing, if you want this, then you got to do what we say. People are getting sick of it, especially with the rise of independent media and independent journalism. That shit ain't going to fucking work anymore. It ain't happening anymore.
On for 20 plus years, he's pointing out the obvious flaws that we need to pay attention, to pull away from foreign influence and control to become a sovereign nation once again. He's never said anything about putting blacks back in chains. And, if you're going to go off...
I'm sure he said something to that extent.
Off of clip editing and then sensationalism. Obviously, he's very sensational right now. You're being intellectual.
See, they're fucking up, man, because they're defending Nick Fuentes. And I think very intentionally, and it's kind of, it's not a good thing, but it is clever in that he says very off-topic, taboo, inflammatory things to get people to watch him. And, it's very easy to, quote-unquote, take his stuff out of context. And you sound kind of dumb by constantly saying, oh, this is taken out of context.
Actually dishonest. You're being...
Well, let's play a clip. Let me play a clip of Fuentes.
And look, here we go.
And we can discuss this after we've watched it.
What are all of these groups? Who are these people? What are they actually? The World Jewish Congress, the Jewish Leadership Conference, the Jewish Federations of North America. What are we to make of this? This is totally unique. There is no other group of people that does this. I'm Italian, Mexican, and Irish. Is there anything comparable for any of these groups? Is there a World Irish Congress chaired by billionaires and bankers?
No, that strikes me as pretty openly anti-Semitic, because of course there are plenty of groups around the world for all sorts of nationalities and religious and ethnic groups. Of course there are. We all know that. So the idea that somehow this is unique to Jewish people is preposterous. The guy is clearly anti-Semitic, isn't he? There's no even pretends to not be.
No, he's not. He's not.
It's his job to defend himself. It's Nick Fuentes' job to defend himself, not yours.
I'm gonna jump in again. I'm sorry, he's not.
And they're making both of y'all look like fools.
You're taking a clip out of context. Here's the thing.
What was the out of context?
Well, first and foremost, I'm saying you have to really listen.
Well, hang on, don't, Rabbi Shmuley, let me just handle this.
Rabbi Shmuley, you're
hang
the
on,
worst representative for
Richie
your
Black,
side.
I'm very curious.
They did a real disservice.
Hang on. When you say, Richie Black, when you
say
we took it out of context, explain how that was taken. It seemed pretty straightforward context to me.
I'll tell you why. Because, first of all, you're taking it out of context because you have to take in the full scope of everything Nick says, not only...
Yeah, he got baited into that one hard.
In one of his shows, but over the course of time, his fans, the people that are loyal to him, the people that are pushing for America first, these aren't people that just showed up yesterday, and this is where you really lose out. Your negligence to acknowledge the fact that his fans, his constituents, have been following him for 10 years.
Look, that doesn't matter. The thing that does matter is his influence is growing at a rapid pace. I'll show you something. Take a look at these comments. Nick won this debate. He wasn't even there. Shmuley is the most insanely accurate stereotype to have ever walked the earth. Absolutely ridiculous, talking about Jews, the quote-unquote Jewish stereotype. A bunch of Jews yelling at Americans about Nick Fuentes on a show hosted by a Brit who refuses to have Nick Fuentes on a show about Nick Fuentes. How ridiculous is this? How is Shmuley a real person? I mean, I looked and looked and looked. Right here. The more Shmuley talks, the more I like Nick Fuentes. And that's how a lot of people feel. This is how everybody feels. I mean, ratioed to hell. On and on and on and on. You'd be very hard. Look, ban AIPAC. Non-stop. So they're doing So they're doing themselves a disfavor, not by acknowledging the fact that he's had I don't know why he said not by acknowledging the fact that he's had an audience for 10 years. The fact is his audience is growing rapidly, and these two people have absolutely no idea why. If they did have a clue why, they would address what Nick Fuentes is actually talking about and come up with a different strategy. Because calling people racist, calling people white supremacists, calling people anti-Semites, it's not fucking working anymore. He's gaining power and popularity quickly. And he's uncancelable. You can't cancel him any more than he's already been canceled. I mean, I guess maybe you could go after Rumble, but at this point he could probably end up like Alex Jones and make his own website. You can't go after him anymore. He's been debanked, deplatformed. You've made him stronger. It's like when you take a toddler and you're like, yeah, I'm going to go run him around the neighborhood, get him a trampoline, get him active all the time. I'm going to wear him out. You don't wear him out. You just make him stronger. He's got a lot of vigor, a lot of energy, and nothing left to lose. He doesn't have a family. He ain't got nothing to lose. They're barking up the wrong tree thinking they're going to take this guy head on with the same old shit that they've been using for dozens of years. It's not going to work. And I'm just trying to say that from a perspective of like neutrality. You know, I'm really not taking sides here. But I can tell you for sure right now what these two guys are doing, it ain't working.
To do with his anti-Semitism.
Hitler had followers. Mussolini had followers. Stalin.
Yeah, it's I don't know why. It's just a stupid thing to say.
I'm curious. I will, Jake, I will bring you in, and Ben, I will bring you in. But just, Richie, just to be clear, you said that clip was taken out of context. I can't understand.
Yeah, so he's going to be harping on that. Like, he's just like, oh, fuck, why did I say that?
How it was taken out of context. It was very straightforward. What was the out of context?
First and foremost, what I'm suggesting is what you're lobbying as anti-Semitism. You're suggesting that Nick hates all Jews? Is that what you're suggesting? Like, what does it mean anymore to be anti-Semitic? Because
if you say you openly love Adolf Hitler, you probably.
I mean, there's a lot of real issues about like people when and I've seen this rabbi do it on this show. Where like people disagree with Netanyahu or Israel, and then he just plainly like falls right into the stereotype, starts calling people anti-Semitic, and like that's a real problem. I mean, Piers Morgan has been called anti-Semitic, but I mean they're totally missing the point here. I mean they're totally getting baited.
Probably don't care that he murdered millions of Jews.
I would definitely argue if your assumption is that somebody who has any adoration for Adolf Hitler is obviously anti-Semitic, then you yourself have not dived into history and or looked at the subjugation or the persecution of those.
I can't believe we're hearing this. If I love
of course
the Klan,
you can't believe it, because this is a new age. America must rise to the occasion to address the issue of people like you. This is the new age.
Sir, so you have told wait. You have told so many lies. Number one, Adolf Hitler never called Jesse Owens. That is a total fabrication. Wait, that is a total.
It gets pretty hard to listen. We'll listen to a little bit more, but it gets kind of hard to listen to a little bit farther in because they're all just like there was a point when all four of them were yelling all at once.
It's a total fabrication. Number two, when Nick Fuentes. No. Let me speak, please. Number two, when Nick Fuentes says that there is no other symbol.
Say, as you just said, you just sound really bad, man. It's like It's a Jewish poison. Oh, he didn't say Jewish poison, but it's what it sounds like. He's just poison in my ears. It's just
group like the Jewish Federation. You
gotta hold your frame, bub.
You don't know how many Irish Americans supported the IRA. You know how many Mexican organizations have Latino congresses.
Listen,
Nick Fuentes
this is
as
a conversation.
ignorant as you.
He's got him flustered too, man.
Nick Fuentes and defending America first.
And I am allowed to bring up. Excuse me.
We are not
and
talking
I am
about Jewish
allowed
Americans.
to bring up his
You're
appearance when he wants white Americans to rule America.
You're talking over each other. Don't talk over each other, please.
No, he won't. He won't let
Yeah, just tap out, buddy.
Okay.
If you love Hitler,
if you both
hate
talk
Jews,
at once, we
period.
can't hear either of you. We can't hear either if you talk at once. December is Heart Awareness Month, which makes you think energized, clear-headed, and vibrant. 7 today, and feel the difference where it matters most.
There you go.
Inside
Get your blood
your
flow
veins.
uncensored.
Visit Blood Flow 7 within the conservative right in America. And to pretend that Fuentes is not gathering fame, infamy, whatever you want to call it, support, following, notoriety, fame, infamy, whatever you want to call it, support, following, notoriety, attention, probably the thing he craves most, and making tons of money out of it, is to put your head in the sand. So he is a phenomenon that is getting bigger, not smaller. What is your view of Fuentes? Obviously, Tucker Carlson sat with him and got criticised for not going hard at him enough and so on. What is your view of Fuentes?
I think, number one, he's a white supremacist, and I think he's an opportunist that has figured out how to make money being a white supremacist.
You can keep saying that all you want, man. You can keep saying that all you want, but it ain't going away. What I've started to notice is that all across the spectrum, when people start losing bad, that's what they resort to. You look at Mamdani, for example. I'll give one example from the left. He came up out of nowhere, and people started and this is how it always happens. These people, it's like, where the fuck did these people come from? And then all of a sudden, all these people are agreeing with him, and we can't stop him. He came up out of nowhere. All of a sudden, everybody's really into him. And in the days before the election, I knew he was going to win, because in the days before the election, people started posting videos of the Twin Towers getting hit by a jet from 9/11. And, like, they're resorting to this shame, like, how you can't vote for this person, he's a terrorist, and this just these Hail Mary attempts, these like utter desperation, to practically begging people to not vote for this guy. Like, that is how you know that you have lost, you're losing, and the other side is going to win. And you see the same thing happening with Nick Fuentes. And don't get me wrong, just like Mamdani, just like Donald Trump, Nick Fuentes has a lot of things that a lot of people could be, like, reasonably mad about, and rightfully so. But their attack pattern, their strategy of attacking him is a clear signal that they're losing control, and they know it. Just like when they started calling Donald Trump Hitler, and they started calling him a white supremacist, and they started making up shit in the media, like hardcore hoaxes, making shit up to try to get people to not vote for him. Like, that's how you know you're cooked. And these people, they may not know it yet, but they are cooked. That sounds kind of bad. Yeah, they're losing power. It's slipping from their hands, and they know it.
The Jewish issue for just a second. This is a guy a year and a half ago that talked about somebody littering in a neighborhood, saying it's a black guy, and it's always black people that do this, and he would kill him with Adolf Hitler. That's his exact words on his show. Quote, "This is my neighborhood. I'm supposed to be mad at Hitler. I'm supposed to be crossed with Hitler. I want this guy dead, and I wish Hitler would kill him. I wish Hitler would have killed him, you know. The guy should be killed. The guy should be killed for what that guy should be dragged from his car and beaten to death by the public. If I was in a room with Hitler and that guy, me and Hitler would team up and blank that guy up. We would kill that guy, and we'd high five at the end."
Yeah, see, both of these guys are laughing, and everybody else that already agrees with Nick Fuentes or is in the process of agreeing or about to start agreeing with him will also be laughing. So that sounds really good, what you just said. And again, I'm not defending Nick Fuentes. I'm just realizing the situation for what it is.
So
so that sounds really bad, and that sounds awful, and it sounds good. I guess you can you're getting your sound bite, but you're not really doing anything.
Is an individual who hates anyone that it's not funny when you talk about black. When you talk about,
I mean, maybe it's a joke. Look, another thing too is like this stuff of like these things you're not allowed to joke about and shit. I mean, it doesn't exist anymore. That's like a very legacy media thing, like 1950s to 2015, 2016, and people disaffected from the left for the exact same reasons that they're starting to disaffect from the right, for the exact same topics, for the exact same, like, you're not allowed to talk about this. This is an acceptable thing to talk about. This is something you can never talk about. People don't like being told that, and in today's day and age, they don't feel like they have to respect that.
No, it is dragging a black person and killing
don't talk at once.
Whether or not you think is funny, is a matter of opinion. I mean, I don't know the context there. But this like edgy humor is almost kind of like a way to signal to people that you're not captured by the system because you don't play by the rules of the system, because you're making dead Jew jokes. People know that you're not, involved with the legacy media, because if you were, you would never think of saying something like that. You would never think of saying retarded. You would never think of. So it's kind of become a way to signal, to get people to listen to you, because you're saying things that are so far off topic, and it's actually making people laugh because it's so taboo and because it's so because it's so off limits.
Ben, finish his point, please.
Let me finish.
Sorry.
This is the difference between, and I'm glad that you guys are on the show, because I actually think it does a great service to show the excommunication in the real conservative movement of white.
I mean, you're right. It is. You might think it's a good thing to have them on your show because they're not as well spoken as some of the people that might do a better job at defending this stuff. Not defending, stuff that is, genuinely concerning, but the only thing that they're really doing is help reaffirming the people that already agree with you, and the people that already agree with you, the numbers of people that already agree with you are dwindling.
Supremacists like you guys that laugh about killing black people, or laugh
and you calling people whites. I mean,
about the Holocaust, or deny. Let me finish. Let me just finish. You can talk in a moment. You can. I'm happy to have a conversation with you. I go back to the core here with Nick.
You're not trying to have a conversation because you just called them white supremacists.
Nick is an individual that has figured out how to basically use stooges like you guys to make money off of being a white supremacist. He has been excommunicated from anybody that's saying the Republican Party. He is not a part of the Republican Party or movement. There are very few people, and the proof of that is the fact that you can name them. It's Candace Owens, it's Tucker Carlson, it's Nick Fuentes. It's an extremely small group.
A lot of people agree with Tucker Carlson and Candace Owens. Like, Nick Fuentes might be a little too much for a lot of people, but you talk about populism and the majority of public opinion, a lot of people agree with Candace Owens and Tucker Carlson. Personally, like, Candace Owens for me is kind of far out there. But I think she gets it right, at least some of the time.
Group, all of them making money off of, I think, real racists, and gathering them together and then acting as if they have this power. They're just making money and trolling you guys with their white supremacy. So I'm glad that they're...
I'm telling you, man, you are vastly underestimating your opponent if you think that is the only thing that's going on. And he says later on, I won't skip to that or wait to find it because it'll take a while to get there. And there's like lots of yelling. This is hard to watch, but he's like, I think, the thing about politics is you really have to understand your opponent. And he doesn't. I was really surprised to hear him say that because he doesn't understand his opponent at all. Neither of those guys have a clue whatsoever about what is actually taking place. And they're worried. They're scared. And if they're not scared yet, they will be soon.
Being called out. I'm glad that they're being exposed. I think the scary part is they do gather people, just like the KKK did back.
Yeah, but you don't know why. You don't understand why. That's what's scary. The thing that's the most scary, fear, comes from misunderstanding and not knowing. If you knew exactly how to beat your opponent, you would go into battle fearless every time. Like a video game. When you play it and you know exactly the move, like Elden Ring, you know exactly the moves the boss is going to make. You know exactly how to counter it. It's not a problem. You run right in. You do exactly what you got to do. You knock them out. There is no fear. The reason this is scary to you is because you don't understand it. You have no idea why this is happening and why this is going on. Maybe you should try to listen. Maybe you should spend some time, like I have and like some other people have, and you don't need to heavily invest into Nick Fuentes, but try to take some time to understand where he's coming from and try to understand why people agree with him. And if you absolutely refuse to do that, I'm telling you, you're making a serious miscalculation if you're trying to stomp this out, because this actually could become a problem. Because if you are successful in suppressing these people and suppressing the voice of people that are quickly starting to become the majority, you will radicalize people, and people will start hating Jews, and people will elect somebody who's a fascist dictator. I mean, it's likely going to happen in Europe because of what they're doing over there.
In the day, just like Adolf Hitler did, just like Mussolini and Stalin and many others have. But the difference here is,
and you got to understand too why Hitler got elected. He didn't get elected at first. Like, he got elected at first. He was popular at first. Everybody agreed with him, and I think well into like a good bit of his tenure. I mean, everybody in Germany agreed with him. He was standing up for them. So you probably could have prevented Hitler. Hitler probably could have been prevented if some of the issues and complaints and gripes of the German people were heard, understood, interacted with, and addressed. But instead, it's like, oh, yeah, no, like, fuck you, Germany. You're done. You lost. You're going to suffer. Your economy's going to suffer. And somebody comes along and says, hey, fuck that. I mean, I know the Jew thing was a big part of it because he had to put the blame on some. I'm not a World War II historian. But people didn't totally agree with him just because of his hatred with Jews. It didn't start there. He explained why, he gave the meaning of like, okay, we're having all these problems. You understand those problems. We need to fix it. Here's how we fix it. The communists, the Jews are the problem. We need to take care of that. Here's what we're going to do. It probably could have been prevented if some of the things were addressed. And you could prevent the same thing here. Just by saying, oh, he's Hitler, you can't vote for him. That's not good enough for people because you're not solving anybody's actual problems. Because while you might not think Nick Fuentes is legitimate, the problems that his followers are dealing with, the average struggle of everyday Americans, the future we're looking into that you've left for us, are also legitimate. And they're scary for us, a lot scarier than losing power. We're looking at a very grim future, the world as a whole. So if you say that, you can say that you don't agree with Nick Fuentes and his problems and the way he says things, and that's fine. But you're overlooking a very big problem if you just completely dismiss him and his audience and the people that are following him.
At least the conservative movement, many of my good friends in the movement are calling them out on a daily basis because they understand the threat it is to conservatism, and we police our own. So I'm sorry you guys want to be associated with them. I'm sorry that you think the Holocaust didn't happen, or gas chambers didn't happen, or black people should be killed or dragged, or the N-word is appropriate to refer to.
And look, neither of these guys have said anything like that up to this point. That's just it, and everybody, especially younger people, will see that and interpret that as 100% bad faith, dishonest argumentation. You're proving Nick Fuentes right. And I've watched him enough to understand what the message he's trying to convey and how a lot of these people feel. Enough to know that what you're doing right now is making the problem worse for yourself. If your problem is trying to stop this from happening.
But this is white supremacy.
Okay.
I'm going to give.
All right, hang on. I will control the panel. Right, the Jerusalem Post editorial, which teed up this debate, said that Fuentes and Candace Owens represent a direct and dangerous challenge. They undermine decades of attempts at reconciliation between Catholics and Jews, and they prey on young Catholics, offering them a vision that fuses religious identity with outright bigotry. And the longer the Vatican remains silent, the more their poison spreads. Just before I move on to the other panelists, Ben, do you think the Pope should speak out?
Of course.
Absolutely. I mean, I know he's going to say yes, but this is yet again another severe miscalculation. Nick Fuentes, even though he's a Catholic, what do you think, like, the Pope's going to say Nick Fuentes needs to be condemned, and then all of a sudden everybody's going to be like, oh, I'm not going to follow Nick Fuentes anymore. I don't like what he says. Are you fucking retarded? You must be if you think that is going to get you what you're trying to get.
And look, real leaders lead on issues like this, and they don't see how many followers they may gain or lose. I think that's the saddest part.
I think disagreeing with stuff as a whole, representing Christianity as a whole, is the responsibility of the Pope. If you're talking about leadership, it's none of his business, the politics of America, in my opinion.
Part about what you're witnessing with not only the Pope and the lack of leadership there, but with people like Tucker Carlson. I think he's been isolated since he lost his TV show. I think.
Are you fucking kidding me, bro?
He's found a new audience in white supremacists.
This is what I'm talking about. Oh, he's just mad because he lost his TV show and then he's not in our club anymore. I don't think so, man. Oh, he found a new audience of white supremacists. Nope. I don't think that's what's going on. Tucker has a huge audience. A huge audience. He has his own website. He doesn't need anybody to help him distribute his media. He's doing fine by himself. And to dismiss that as anything else but that is stupid.
I think he gives an audience to these supremacists to come on, and he does make a hell of a lot of money. I mean, if your goal is to be
to get the supremacists come on. I mean, you're insulting the intelligence of everybody that's ever watched something of Tucker Carlson and say, wow, this is some real high-quality journalism. To say that all of the work he's done is bad, and he's never done anything good because he interviewed Nick Fuentes or a couple people that you didn't like, you're going to dismiss all of the work that he's done since he started his own network. What a shame.
Multi-millionaire and to stack cash, it works. Candace and Tucker are part of that. Nick is part of that, but there's others that have to call them out and be loud about it. I don't do this because I'm trying to make money. I do this because I love this country. There is right and wrong. There's a line in the sand, and I say to every conservative I know out there, you're either on the side of Tucker and Candace and Nick, and you're a white supremacist that hates Jews and denies the Holocaust, or you're on the side of right and wrong. That's
Dude, that is not going to work, man. Because nobody gives a fuck. Nobody gives a fuck about this false dichotomy that you created. People are going to do whatever the hell they want, and they don't give a fuck what you think. Especially nowadays. You're making a big mistake, man. I just wanted to point all this stuff out. It's it's interesting to see this play out. It's going to start getting crazier and crazier and crazier. And Nick Fuentes and the people that are adjacent to him are going to start getting more and more power. A lot more people are going to start listening to Tucker Carlson, and these people like this are going to kick and scream and cry and beg and call people white supremacists and call people Hitler and say you're fascist. But guess what? Only the people directly around you are ever going to agree with you. Nobody else gives a fuck.